What is going on, guys? Gaston right here, and today I have my friend Julia right here, and we're going to be comparing some lenses. So Julia, thank you for coming here one more time. And you can follow Julia right here on Instagram. She's an amazing makeup artist and model. So we're going to be comparing the RF 85mm f1.2 versus the 85mm f1.4 G Master. So for that, we're going to shoot with the Canon EOS R and the Sony A7R4. Now, the Canon EOS R is a 31 megapixel camera versus the Sony A7R4, which is actually a 61 megapixel camera. So megapixel count is actually not going to matter to tell the resolution of the lenses, so we're going to look for sharpness, color rendition, and the whole 9 yards. Now, for today's photo shoot, I'm going to be using two simple setups. I have an 8600 and 8400 Godox. We're going to use the two softbox beauty dishes and over here we're going to have a filler light, which is an AD200 to kind of like fill in under the chin. So why don't we get started, guys? Julia, let's do it. So we meter the three lights. Once again, 8400 is going to be my main light. The side light right here, the kicker, is going to be the 8600. I should have actually done the opposite, but whatever. And this one right here is the 8200. We're using it as a filler from under the chin. The setting for the photo shoot are going to be 1/500. It's going to be my shutter speed. The f-stop is going to be 8, and my ISO is actually 100. So let's get shooting. We're gonna switch to that one. So this is the EOS R. I want you to see the settings. Shutter speed 1/500, f8, and the ISO is 100. Now on the A7R4, I have exactly the same thing. 1/500 shutter speed, f is 8, and the ISO is 100. For what I see through the viewfinder, I see that this lens renders much more bokeh per se when you're f8, where this one renders the entire frame more in focus. Usually I use f8 because I want to get everything in focus. With this lens, I kind of like get a lot of stuff out of focus. At least that's what I see through the EVF. Maybe when I open this image in Lightroom, it's not the case, but this is what I see right now. One of the things that I like about the EOS R better than I like from the A7R4 or any Sony camera, every time I look at a picture in the screen, it looks like it is actually overexposed when in reality it's not. They're being shot at the same settings right here, whereas the EOS R renders the image way better. We can actually zoom in these images, and it's basically how I see it in Lightroom. Now on the A7R4, it's always the same thing. You know, that's why I always tether when I shoot with my Sony cameras. One of the things that I notice is that they look overexposed. Now you can compare the difference right here by zooming in on these pictures. Well, this one I can do this. That's another thing that I like. Whereas this one, it's much more realistic to the outcome, and this one, it looks all blown out right there. Now when I open the image, it's a complete different story. And right over here you can see what I'm telling you about some of the texture of the skin being out of focus, where this part is actually much more in focus. You can see even every single pore in here, we're starting to lose from here to there, starting to lose details. All right, so we're back to the 85mm f1.4 G Master and Sony A7R4. Let's make it happen there. I like that one, really cool. What I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna actually try to shoot at f1.2 and see my shutter speed. So I'm gonna drop this to f1.2, and we're at f1.2. And I wanna see what shutter speed I'm gonna have to be in, or at. Looks like too much. So let's see, shutter speed. Okay, I have to go to 8,000. Shutter speed 8,000. f1.2, and my ISO is 320, and that seems to be perfect. All right, so one of the things that I want to do right now is I'm going to lower the aperture to f5.6. I was shooting at f1.2, and I get that the eyelash in focus, of course, the eye's out of focus. Now at f5.6, the amount of blur that you get, the amount of bokeh that you get, it's completely different than the Sony A7R4, and we're going to be testing that and comparing it. Perfect. Now we're gonna try to f5.6 with a A7R4, and this is gonna be it. So this is what I do all the time, because if not, put a little piece of tape right here, set my aperture, and that way it's never gonna be bumped. And this is one of the problems with these rings right here. I end up always bumping them. A little bit of black tape and solves the problem. One thing that I can tell you about this lens, the quality is out of control. The other thing that I like about shooting with the EOS R is that I can preview the exposure exactly like I'm gonna see in Lightroom, whereas on the A7R4, it's always much more blown out. I don't know why. Now, the other thing that I noticed with this lens is that when you focus on the eye, for example, you see a lot of blur around the image. But then when you review the image, it's actually in focus, something that doesn't happen with the A7R4 and this lens. On the Sony cameras, you can actually preview the depth of field. On this one, it seems like a struggle. It seems like it allows you to focus, but then the depth of field is all blurry, like if you're like a f1.2 when you're shooting at like 8. So something to keep in mind. So thank you for watching this video. As always, subscribe to the channel if you like this video and you find it productive. Give it a thumbs up and follow Julia at
Asian Queen 1.
And I'll see you again in another video. Take care.